Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. Thanks for tuning in. You know, I've been doing some videos on baits that do not get nearly the amount of attention and use that I think that they should. And one of those baits that I've mentioned is a tube. A tube is a bait that, you know, back in the 90s, early 2000s, it was like a fantastic bait that almost every angler had tied on, regardless of species. If you were fishing smallmouth, largemouth, spotted bass, you could catch them on a tube. But nowadays, it's kind of rare to see an angler fishing a tube unless they're fishing for deep water smallmouth. And that's because it is a great bait for smallmouth, but it more so is just because I think there's so many other options that anglers are utilizing. You know, if you're looking in the smallmouth world and for largemouth and spotted bass, you've got baits like the Ned rig, you've got the drop shot that has come along with tons of different options now. You've got small swim baits, a lot of other finesse options that we didn't really have back then. The tube was like your super finesse bait for all species of bass. You know, if you're looking more at the largemouth side of things, a lot of anglers went away from flipping a tube because you had really cool inventions of different types of craws, different types of creature baits, other flipping options. You know, it kind of was back then you had a jig, or you had a tube, or you had a plastic worm. But the fishing world has had such advancements in baits that a tube, which is pretty bland when you look at it and has not changed much over the years. This is about as basic as you can get. The difference in tubes really has just come down to length and texture and width of the bait versus crazy creature baits that have appendages and arms and flappers all over the place. So they're really kind of bland when you think about it and have not changed much since they came out 30, 40 years ago. One of the other reasons I think the tube has fallen out of favor with a lot of anglers is because the most basic way to rig it is with a tube hook slit up the body and you've got an exposed hook. And a lot of anglers find this to be difficult to use if you're not fishing on a bare bottom. So if you've got any grass, if you've got any wood, you get hung up a lot. But I'm here to tell you guys that you have another option to get the great fall and the great movement out of a tube and get it in a weedless manner by rigging it in what they call the stupid tube rig. And that's basically you take a specially designed hook for tube fishing and rig it so it's in a weedless manner. And that's what I want to show you today. And the reason this is important, and here's a rigged one. The reason this is important is because now I can present this bait in the same manner that I would fish a regular tube. So I've got a very similar weighted tube head in the stupid rig, in the stupid tube, that will give me the same spiral fall or side to side fall that I can get in a tube with an actual tube hook. The difference obviously is I can fish it weedless. If there's some grass around, if there's some wood around, I can work it through those areas without getting snagged. Even if you're fishing areas that have a little bit more chunk rock, where a tube is known to get snagged, you can fish the stupid tube through there and very, very rarely get any hangups. It's an extremely weedless presentation. The thing is, there's a couple of key elements that you need to know when it comes to rigging the stupid tube. So the first thing has to do with your hook choice. So I'm going to unrig this and show you the hook. So in this case, this is a stupid tube hook. So the difference between a standard tube hook, if I can dig one out here. So here's one with a rattle on it. The difference is the hook itself. So in this case, you've got a wide gap hook versus just kind of a straight, this is more of an O'Shaughnessy style or just a straight shank hook. And then you've got, you know, your same tube head weight style at the top. But the key here is you've got the extra wide gap hook. And the reason that's important is because when you rig the bait, it's going to give you enough room to get the hook all the way through both sides of the tube and then lay flat. So the key to this is when you've got the hook, you know, this is just an extra wide gap tube hook, nothing super fancy about it. A lot of companies make one, but it's got to be the extra wide gap. Ideally, 60-degree hook eye is what you're looking for. So when you rig this, what you want to do is you want to start from the bottom of the tube. So you're going to slide up the tube to about the point where your weight would come out. All you got to do is measure. If you took your tube, put your hook and measured it on the tube, roughly where you want that to come out. So in this case, I want to come out right here. So what I'm going to do is slide my tube, my hook up the bottom of the tube, pop it out so it's like that. I'm going to slide the weight up into the tube, and then once I get to the point where my weight is hitting the hole where I came out, I'm going to slide the tube up and over, spin my hook around, slide it up to the top, and poke my eye out just like I did. And then all I'm going to do is hook it Texas style. So I'm going to go through, basically bend my tube down, pop the hook through both sides, and then I'm just going to pinch it just like I would a Texas style or a Texas rig. So in this case, you know, you can see I've got a weedless tube so that when a fish comes and bites it, the thing that's so great about a tube bait is you don't have the mass of a normal plastic bait because it's hollow. So when they bite it, they're going to squeeze it in and you'll get, you know, full hook penetration. You got a whole bunch of gap because you've got the extra wide gap tube hook in there. And it's a great way to take your tube jig, rig it weedless, and be able to work this through tons of different areas and not worry about getting snagged. It's a great presentation for a tube. And it's one that, you know, I would say there was probably a 1 or 2 year period where the stupid tube became real popular and it's disappeared again. You don't ever hear anyone talking about it. But I'll tell you guys, the tube fishermen that love fishing tubes love a stupid tube as well, because it gives them the exact same fall that you've got here, because you've got a normal tube jig head in the top of the bait. So you'll get the exact same fall that you would get with a normal tube, just like that. So you'll get that either the spiral or the side to side motion as it falls, which is a really good triggering motion of the tube. You know, I got to tell you, the stupid tube is probably the #1 thing that has gotten me back into fishing tubes, because I used to fish them a lot. I got away from them. The stupid tube kind of reignited my favor of the tube to the point now I've got one rigged up most places I go. But I would say half the time I've got them rigged, it's in a stupid tube manner versus just the standard tube rig. And that just has to do if I'm fishing around any sort of grass, laydowns, whatever, I go stupid tube. If I'm fishing bare bottom gravel type areas that a tube is known to work in, then I go with the standard tube jig head, slit up the tube. So I hope this was helpful, guys. If it was, hit the like button, share it on social media, and stay tuned for tomorrow's video.